All right. Yeah. Hi. Good afternoon, uh, everyone. Today we'll try to continue the class by um, learning to this video um, to replace the in-person class because I couldn't come at the scheduled time because of other event. So. This video is uploaded to YouTube, and this is uploaded as a live stream, if you may say. It's not really a live stream, but it's like a live stream in the context that you cannot speed up or you cannot um, skip the video or something. So just try to follow the video, and later in the end we will take the presents to through the exercise in my test classroom. So yeah, just try to follow this video, this lecture, and yeah, let's start. So okay, I will maybe turn off the cam. Right, so we will continue by discussing the probability. So I think last time we have discussed the statistics part of the lecture, the review of the statistics part of the lecture, and now we are going to continue to study or maybe to review something about probability. So So I believe some of these you are familiar with already. So I hope you can follow this quite smoothly. Okay, so let's start by discussing what's called a sample space, which is the set of possible outcomes of a statistical experiment. Is called the sample space, and it is represented by the symbol S. So it is again all possible outcomes of a statistical experiment or of an experiment that you maybe you have done already some of it. So some examples include the first example here, a coin toss, which has two possible outcomes, right? The head and the tail. So coin toss, if you throw a coin, well, of course, there will be head side and the tail side, whatever that is. So there will be two sides. And how many outcomes? Of course, the possible outcomes are two, right? The head and the tails. So the sample space, this is a set, ya, sebuah himpunan yang terdiri dari head dan juga tails, dua elemen. Sama juga dengan dice roll, which has a six possible outcomes, which is 1 to 6, assuming, of course, that this is a normal dice and not a modified dice or something with yeah, rectangular shape and 6 sides. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is all possible number that may come out if you roll the dice. Okay. So what if we have three coin tosses, or maybe three experiments, or multiple number of experiments? Well, we try to list all possible uh, combination of all of those three. So, for example, if you have three coin tosses, the first could be head or tail. Well, the second toss, if you do head, the second toss will be head or tail also, right? For the second possibility, the tail, it's also head and tail. And this is continued until 3 times because we have three coin tosses. So head and tail and head and tail. Okay. So yeah, of course, this is also head and tails and so on. So you have, I think, 8 possibilities because of two to the power of 3. So 3 here is the number of toss, number of experiment, whereas 2 is the possible outcome of one experiment. So as you can see here, there are 8 possibilities: head, 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 tails, head, tails, tails, head, tails, head, tail, head, head, tail, head, tail, and so on. For example, if you have if you have a, let's say, roll the dice twice, so you have 1 to 6, and you have to roll the dice twice. The sample space, the number of all possible combination would be 6 to the power of 2, right? Because this is the possibilities, 6 possibilities of the dice, and this is the number of toss or roll in this case, or the number of experiments that you did, which will be 36, right? So as you can see, the more we do the experiment, the more possible combination would arise, and it increases quickly or exponentially. Okay, so what is an event? So event is defined as the number of, or sorry, the subset of sample space. So the example here, suppose that you have R is the event that a red card is selected from an ordinary deck of 52 playing cards. So this is just regular playing cards which have 52. Yeah, you have 4 categories, right? 2 categories are red and 2 other categories are black. And in one category you have, I think, 13 cards, including like the king and the queen and so on. And let S to be the entire deck. So S is the sample space, and R uh, R prime or R accent is the event that the card selected from the deck is not a red card but a black card. So this is called the complement of an event. So R is the event, which is a red card, right? You get the red card. So what is the opposite? Well, you get the black card because there are only 2 possible cards, right? The red one and the black one. So this is the complementary event R prime, which is again the event that we have black card from the deck. So for dice roll example, or maybe coin toss example, let's say an event would be the event that the number is even, for example, for dice roll, or the number is odd or something, right? So those are the events that satisfy a certain criteria that we set before. So we have a sample space and we have event. So yeah, the complement of an event A with respect to S is the subset of all elements of S that are not in the A. So A is denoting or symbolizing the event A, and the complement of the event A is A prime, or the symbol A accent or A prime. Yeah. And the intersection of 2 events, A and B, denoted by the symbol A and intersect B, or this is the intersection, right? In Indonesian, irisan. Yeah. So if you have a set A and you have a set B, so this would be a intersection of B, intersection of A and B, yeah, which is the event containing all elements that are common to A and B, right? So it's in A but also in B. So throughout this class, maybe throughout this course, we will use some of the notation from the set theory. So I hope you still remember. So one of those is this intersection symbol or intersection phenomenon. So the other is the union. So let's see here. Two events A and B are mutually exclusive or called disjoint if there is no intersection, right? So this 0 here means that it is an empty set, right? Empty set. So A and B, there is no intersection, right? As you can see, they are completely separate. And the other concept is the union of the two events A and B, which is denoted by this union symbol, or you can also call the cap symbol. But I think it's also okay to just say A union B, which is the event containing all the elements that belong to A or B or both. So note that we use the word or here, whereas previously for intersection, we used the word and. Yeah, we use the word and. So this is the difference. So if you have, let's say this A and B, and this would be the intersection. Yeah, this would be a intersection of B. And if you have the union, this would be A, B. There will be no intersection, but the union A, B is all of this. If you have the union between A and B here, well, what we mean by union is either A, either B, or either both. So you consider all three of the possible area or possible region to get the union of the events. Yeah. So in Indonesian, this is irisan, ya, intersection irisan, darah union adalah gabungan. Okay, so I think this is easy, right? So for example, what is in the this figure? If I am asking what is A, B, and C, well, it would be 1, right? Because this is the area uh, that is inside set A, inside set B, and inside set C. But if I'm asking, for example, A intersection of B and then union of C, well, A intersection of B is 1, 2. Yeah, 1, 2. And you add C here, right? So that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, and so on. Yeah. For example, B intersection of C would be 1 and 3. Yeah, this should be using the curly bracket because we are doing a set operation. Okay, so I hope this is clear. I think this is not new. Again, I think you have studied this before, maybe in your middle school or maybe yeah, in the school and so on. Maybe some of you still remember, maybe some of you forget, but yeah, I hope this will do some review of the events and the sample space. Well, yeah. Now, how to count the sample space? We could use what is called a multiplication rule, which is if an operation can be performed in n1 ways, and if for each of these ways the second operation can be performed in n2 ways, then the two operations can be performed together in the multiplication of those two, n1 and n2 number of ways. So an example, yeah. So an example is the dice roll that we have before. So suppose we have two uniform dice, of course, with the sample space being 1 to 6. So in each dice, you have 6 choices, and you have n1 equals to 6, and n2, because these two are the same, equals to 6. So you have again 36 ways, right? Or 36 combination. It could be 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3, and so on. You can count on yourself. It could be 36. For example, what if I have one dice and one coin? Well, that would be 6 for a dice and 2 for a coin. And that would be 6 multiplied by 2, which is 12. Right? So you will have one head, one tail, two head, two tail, and so on. Yeah, until you exhaust all of the possible options. You will find out that the total is 12 in this case. All right. Then the related concept is called a permutation. So there are uh, two types. Well, the first one is permutation and the second one is combination, right? I think you're already familiar with some of them. So permutation is we try to find the number of arrangement of all or part of a set of objects. And permutations between n distinct numbers taken r times at a time would be n factorial. So this is factorial. This means that it's n times n minus 1 and so on until it's 1. So for example, if you have 3 factorial, it would be 3 times 2 times 1, which is 6. If you have 4 factorials, you will have 4, 3, 2, 1, which is 24. Now, permutation is the ratio between n factorial over n minus r factorial. So an example would be, suppose that I have again a dice, 1.6. So what is the possible, if I try to select a number, maybe let's say two numbers, or maybe three numbers, let's say. If I select three numbers from 1 to 6, yeah, maybe this is not a dice. Yeah, maybe we shouldn't use a dice. Let's say I'm selecting a random number. Maybe I'm selecting three random numbers between 1 to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so according to this, the number n is 5. And since I'm selecting three numbers, this would be 3. So this would be 5 factorial over 2 factorial, right? Because this is 5. So this would be 5 times 4 times 3, which is 60. So this means that there are 60 ways I can get three numbers, 60 arrangements of these three numbers taken from these five numbers. It means that 1, 2, 3 is one option, and 1, 3, 4 is one option, and so on. But in permutation, 1, 2, 3 is not the same as, let's say, 1, 3, 2. Right? So the order, yeah, the order here is important, different from combination. We will see later. And if you try to count this, you will find out that you have 60 possible arrangements. So the related concept is a combination, which is the same as permutation, but now it's without regard to order, which means 1, 2, 3 now is the same as 1, 3, 2, right? And this selection is called combination, and combination between n distinct objects taken r times at a time would be uh, this would be 5, 5, and this would be uh, yeah, I'm taking three numbers, so this would be 3, and this one would be 2, right? Let me erase some of this. So yeah, you have the 5 factorials divided by 3 factorials divided by 2 factorials, which is 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 factorials is 3 factorials and 2 factorials. Okay, so maybe I should stop here, right? It's a trick, so we can here 3 factorial, so that we can cancel this with 3 factorial below, and this 2 factorial would be 2, and this would be 4, which will be 2. Well, there are 10 ways to obtain the arrangement of three numbers without regard to orders, right? So you can count. Well, that would be 1, 2, 3, maybe 1, 3, 4, 1, 3, 5, 1, 2, 5, 1, 2, 4, and then yeah, 1, 2, 3, 1. Okay, so maybe like 1, 4, 5, and so on. Yeah, 2, 3, 5, and 2, 4, 5, and 3, 4, 5. Yeah. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah, maybe I'm missing one. You can try to solve by yourself. Yeah. So yeah, let's try again. So 5, 2, and 3, which is 5, 4, 3 factorial. And this is a 3 factorial, 2 factorial. This will be cancelled. There are 10 combination. And if I'm looking at the number, I have 1, 2, 3. I have 1, 2, 4. I have 1, 2, 5. I have 1, 3, 4. I have 1, 3, 5. I have 1, 4, 5. I have let's say 2, 3, 4, and 2, 3, 5. And then it's 3, 4, 5. Then yeah, apparently I am missing 2, 4, 5. Yeah, so there are 10 combination of three numbers without regard to order. If I select three numbers from 5 numbers, 1 to 5. Okay, so now what is probability, right? Probability is defined as an event, probability of an event A is the sum of the weights of all sample points in A. Therefore, now the probability is always non-zero. Sorry, is always non-negative. It's always non-negative. It's between 0 and 1, including 0 and including 1. 0 if there is no set of the event that happens, and 1 if it's all of the sample set, which is considered. That would be 1. So furthermore, if we have some events, so event is event which is a sequence, mutually exclusive events, A1, A2, A3. The probability of this will be just the sum of PA1, probability A2, and probability A3, and so on. But note that this is for mutually exclusive event, so which means that uh, A1 and A2 should not intersect. Yeah. So in this case, we can just have PA1. This is a PA2. This is a PA. Okay. So the total probability is just the sum of all of this. So note that again, it's only happens if A1, A2, and A3 is mutually exclusive. Okay, so but if they are not mutually exclusive, then the probability of a union between A and B would include the probability of the intersection of A and B, right? So this is the same as the operation, set operation that you did before. So if we have A and we have B, so the union, A union of B would be A, and then it's a B, and it's a minus A intersection B, right? Uh, yeah. So this is if I try to find the number of set member. Let's say A. You have, for example, you have five people, who like probability only. You have seven people who like, say, electric circuit, and you have maybe, let's say, one person who likes both. So uh, you want to find how many people are there who like either electric circuit uh, or probability. So you just plug in these numbers, and that would be 11 people, right? Persons. So, but if A and B are mutually exclusive, then again, you just sum all of this. For three events, well, for three events, you have to consider all of the individual combinations. I mean, only A and only B and only C, and you have to subtract the number of um, the intersection, and then you have to add the total intersection again. So this is just a formula. Actually, you can look at this by doing some simple analysis. So you have three A, B, C. Well, if you try to subtract this, you have to add up one of this so that it cancels out. Okay, so we are not going too much into the detail for this, but I hope you understand the concept of this, maybe just a review of the set theory and the additive rules and so on. Okay, so the next concept that we will study is called conditional probability, which is the probability that an event B occurring when it is known that some event A has occurred before, and it is denoted by this line, which is I just usually say P probability of B given A. So yeah, given A occurs, given that A occurs, the probability of B given A. So we know that something already happened. So what's the probability that the other event will happen soon? Okay. Okay, so conditional probability, the formula is given as follows. So this will be very important. So I hope you remember this. So P of B given A is P of B and A. So this is the intersection. Yeah, the intersection or the end part. Ya, jadi ini adalah irisan ya, atau hubungan dan dari dua event. Sementara ini adalah ya, probability dari event A gitu ya. Jadi ini P B given A ya. probability of B given A adalah rasio antara dua ini. Atau kalau mungkin Anda mau mengubah sedikit dengan aljabar ya, PB intersect A adalah BA kalikan BA. Oke, so ini sangat penting ya. This will be very important. So I hope you remember this and you understand this in a good way, right? So yeah, I hope there is no problem of this. All right, so this is an example. So we consider the event B of getting a perfect square. So perfect square ya, bilangan kuadrat. Jadi ya satu gitu ya. Karena satu kuadrat adalah satu dan empat ya. Karena empat adalah dua kuadrat. When a die is tossed, ketika sebuah dadu itu dilempar, so a dice consists of 6 sides, ada 6 sisi. Jadi yang memenuhi kualifikasi, yang memenuhi spesifikasi hanya 1 dan 4 saja. Oke, okay? There are only two numbers, two perfect square numbers in this. And then this dice is constructed so that the even numbers are twice as likely to occur at the odd numbers. Okay, have to pause. Okay, sorry. So where were we? Yeah, so this dice is constructed so that the even numbers are twice as likely to occur as the odd numbers. So if you can modify the sample space, it wouldn't be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, but it would be like like yeah, it would be since even numbers are twice as likely to occur, it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. So that would be the sample space. And based on the sample space now, it's, yeah, you can write this like this, or you can write it like this. I think this is better. So this has twice the probability. The sample space with probability of 1/9 and 2/9 to the odd and even numbers. So you have now 9 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 numbers. So for the odd, if you have the odd numbers, the probability is 1/9. If you have an even number, let's say 2, probability is 2/9. If you have like 6, also it's 2/9, right? Because it's even number. So the probability of B again is the event of getting a perfect square, is now 1/3. Why? Because we have 1 and we have 4 and 4, right? If you want to write this way. So there are two ways. First, you can write this way. The second, you can write it this way, but this has twice probability. So this would be 2/9. 2/9. And that would be 2/9. All right, so yeah, the probability of B occurring is 1/3. And suppose that it is known that the toss of the die resulted in the number greater than 3. Okay, so suppose, okay, I know that I toss the dice, right? Nah, saya melempar dadu ya, sudah saya lempar, tapi saya nggak bilang Anda gitu, hasilnya berapa. Tapi saya udah lempar, saya tutupi dadunya pakai tangan. Terus saya lihat, saya bilang ke Anda, the number is greater than 3, atau nomornya lebih besar dari 3. Oke, jadi sekarang Anda tahu bahwa nomornya lebih besar dari 3. Lebih besar dari 3 artinya adalah 4, 5, atau 6. Gitu ya. So the number is either 4, 5, or 6, yeah, which is the subset of S. Okay, so there are two events, right? So the first event B, is getting a perfect square. The second event is event that I have done, which is that the number is greater than 3. Okay, so now to find the probability that B occurs relative to the space A, we must first assign new probabilities to the elements A proportional to their original probabilities such that their sum is 1. And assigning of probability of W to the odd number in A and probability of 2W to the two even numbers, we have 5 um, W, which is 1, or W, which is 1 over 5. And relative to the space A, we find that B contains the single element 4. Denoting this event by the symbol B given A, we write B given A is 4, and hence the probability of B given A is 2/5. Okay, let's try again. So um, even A, right, is that the outcome is 4, 5, 6. Okay. Even B is the outcome is 1, 4. So this dice is weird because even occurs twice as odd, right? So if you have A 4, 5, 6, right? What is the chance of 4, 5, 6? Well, there are 9 possibilities because of these 2 times. And possibilities 1, 2, 2, 3, 4, 4, and so on until 5, 6, 6. Well, yeah, that's 3, 4, 4, and 5, 6, 6. There will be 9. 5 here occurs twice, right? 5 occurs once and 6 occurs twice. So we have 5. The probability of getting odd number in this is suppose I have this. Okay, I now want to know the probability of getting 5, which is only one time, right? So it's 1 over 5. Okay. If I want to know the probability of getting the even numbers, let's say an even number, 4, that would be 2 over 5. Okay. Now, what is probability of me getting this B? So B is just 1 and 4, right? I know that A is 4, 5, and 6. Okay. So the possible B is just 4 because 1 is not in A. So that would be 4. Yeah. So that would be 2 over 5 that we just solve. So, okay. Sekarang kita kembali ke problem ini ya. Misalkan tadi saya ulangi, saya punya dadu, saya lempar 1 kali, saya tutup hasilnya, saya bilang ke Anda hasilnya adalah 4, 5, 6. Ya. Dadu ini unik karena peluang dia menghasilkan nilai genap itu 2 kali dari peluang dia menghasilkan nilai ganjil. Oke, jadi terus Anda tanya ya, berapa peluang bahwa nilai yang keluar adalah bilangan kuadrat atau 1 atau 4 atau perfect square tadi. Ya, ini adalah 2/5 karena tadi saya punya 5 sample space karena lebih dari 3 tadi kan 4, 5, 6. Saya punya 5 dari 2 tambah 1 tambah 2 ya, sementara dari pembaginya ya saya punya 2 karena yang memenuhi hanya 4 ya. Memenuhi hanya 4. Jadi 2/5 uh, adalah ini ya. uh, Probability B given A. Ya. Alright, so that's about the concept. So we will see another example. So another example, we have probability that a regularly scheduled flight departs on time is PD, which means D is departing on time, is 0.83, and probability that it arrives on time is A is 0.82. And the probability that the flight or the plane departs and arrives on time is P D intersect A, which is 0.78, right? So in a flight, you depart from a city and you arrive in other city. Let's say you depart from Surabaya and you want to go to Jakarta. So the flight departs from Surabaya at, let's say, 5 p.m. and it arrives Jakarta at, let's say, 6:30, right? So the plane may not be on time. It may be late or it may even be early. But if the plane is late, there's a chance that it also arrives late, right? Okay, so probability that it departs and arrives on time is 0.78, and we are asked to find the probability that a plane arrives on time, given that it departed on time, and B, it departed on time, given that it has arrived on time. So, okay, we now go back to the formula. So we have go back to the formula that I told you before. So this one, conditional probability. So we actually just need to plug in numbers. So what we need to be careful of is interpreting the meaning of the sentence. Right? Jadi misalkan kita diminta menemukan atau menunjukkan probabilitas bahwa pesawat itu dia datang tepat waktu, asumsinya bahwa dia berangkat tepat waktu. Oke, jadi kita mungkin Anda lihat apa namanya flight tracker gitu ya. Flight tracker mungkin sudah banyak ya. Jadi setiap penerbangan itu kan ada jadwal, dia berangkat jam berapa dan dia sampai jam berapa gitu ya. Anda tahu kalau misalkan pesawat ini on time berangkatnya. Anda lihat di website, oh pesawat ini on time. Maka berapa chance bahwa beberapa probabilitas bahwa dia sampai on time. Atau kebalikannya, dia tahu bahwa Anda tahu lihat di bandara mungkin oh, pesawat ini sampainya on time. Berapa probabilitasnya bahwa dia itu berangkatnya juga on time gitu ya. Gampangnya mungkin you can see ya misalkan ada satu pesawat ya Surabaya Jakarta tadi dia delay 1 jam gitu ya. Ya mungkin peluangnya sangat kecil bahwa dia bisa sampai on time 6.30 tadi gitu ya. Pasti dia bukan pasti ya kemungkinan besar ya dia delaynya akan lanjut sampai dia arrival itu pun dia masih berdelay ya. Karena kecepatan pesawat ya kan dia terbatas ya nggak bisa gerak katakanlah yang biasanya 1 jam setengah jadi 15 menit gitu nggak bisa ya itu yang harus kita perhatikan. Alright, so now the probability that the plane arrives on time, given that it departed on time, so we just plug in those numbers, yeah. A given D, so A, this is an event A, given the event D, given D, so this is A given D, and this is the opposite D given A, yeah. So D given A, probability of A given D, probability of D given A. Now the one thing that I think you have to be familiar with, so ini PD irisan A itu sama dengan PA irisan D. Ya. Karena ini kan cuma mindah aja ya. So you can obtain these numbers ya. Probability that the plane arrives on time, given that it departed on time, adalah PAD ya. PAD maka ini adalah yang A ya. So 94% ya 0,94 probabilitas bahwa dia datang tepat waktu. Given that dia berangkat tepat waktu. Now the probability that he played departed on time, given that it departed. Oh sorry, I think this is wrong. Given that it arrives on time, mungkin saya akan ganti ya ini nanti. That it arrives on time itu adalah P probability D given A is the intersection of D and A, the probability of D and A intersection, and over PA, yeah, which is 0.95. Oh, okay, so I think I made a mistake. This should be 0.82. I will change this. Yeah, so this is arrive. This is 0.82. Right, because it's PA 0.82, and this is PD 0.83. Now, what can we tell or what can we learn from this concept of conditional probability? So, yeah, I think there are so many uses of this. Actually, this is one of the most important, or maybe the most important concept in probability that we have to understand. Jadi ini salah satu konsep ya yang sangat-sangat penting dan Anda harus menguasai adalah probabilitas kondisional ya. Jadi ini sangat penting karena kita dapat memformulasikan banyak sekali hal, misalkan ya contohnya adalah kita ingin mengetahui berapa orang yang terkena COVID misalkan ya. Dengan simptom tertentu. Jadi kita lihat di gambar ini, you can see in this picture that 40 people out of 100, they have a fever, and 30 people out of 100 they have COVID. So what is the probability of COVID given that a person have fever? Right? Berapa probabilitas orang terkena COVID jika orang itu dia demam gitu ya. Jadi Anda kalau misalkan seperti ini ya yang kita lihat bukan keseluruhannya gitu. Jadi 40% ini kan adalah keseluruhan ya. 30% juga adalah keseluruhan. Pembandingnya atau faktor penyebutnya adalah 100 ya. Katakanlah semua penduduk yang di COVID itu juga 100. Tapi kalau misalkan COVID dan fever ya kita lihat, kita tahu bahwa orang itu punya fever. Jadi kita yang hitam-hitam ini nggak perlu kita hiraukan. Ya, ini nggak perlu kita hiraukan. Jadi faktor pembaginya adalah tinggal orang yang punya fever. Nah, orang yang punya fever. Nah, berapa banyak dari orang yang punya fever itu yang COVID gitu ya. Dan ini akan berguna kalau misalkan ya tadi Anda misalkan bekerja di bidang kesehatan gitu ya, Anda melihat ada orang dengan gejala seperti ini, nah, berapa kemungkinan dia terkena penyakit ini gitu ya. Itu yang mungkin salah satu contoh yang gampang bisa dibayangkan ya. Jadi kalau Anda nggak kena apa-apa ya kemungkinan Anda juga nggak kena COVID gitu. Tapi kalau Anda misalkan demam atau Anda misalkan batuk-batuk, atau misalkan Anda sesak nafas gitu ya, ya peluang kena COVID itu akan lebih tinggi ya. Karena itu adalah simptom atau pertanda ya, pertanda orang kena COVID. Meskipun nggak semua orang kena COVID itu demam dan nggak semua orang yang demam itu pasti kena COVID. Itu yang mungkin perlu dipahami ya. Saya kira perlu Anda pahami. Right. So the related concept is called independent event. So independent event, which means independent, they are not related, ya, tidak berkaitan. Jadi dua kejadian A dan B disebut dengan kejadian yang independen jika dan hanya jika probabilitas B given A adalah sama dengan probabilitas B. Okay, so yeah, sorry about that. Let's go back. Yeah, for example, you have two dice. Right? You try to do a dice roll of two of those dice, and it turns out that it actually doesn't matter, right? Whether you do the red one first or the black one first, the the probability does not change, right? The probability for example, of getting number 4 or getting number 3, it does not change. If you do the roll, maybe, 1,000 times, the red, you throw the red dice 1,000 times, then you roll the black dice. It does not really change the probability, right? So in this case, these two dice rolls are independent. The notation is the probability of B given A is the same as probability B. Yeah. So that is, I think, also the concept that you have to understand. Now, actually, the conditional probability uh, is part, or maybe is inspiring this rule, which is actually the same. So it's called a Bayes rule, which is from Thomas Bayes. So suppose that we have two events, A and E. Well, the probability of E is the summation of probability of E um, intersect A, and then uh, union with the E dash and then intersect A, which is PE times PA given E plus PE script or PE accent, PE complement times PA given E complement. So if you remember, so this one here, this is PA E, right? And this one here is P A, sorry, this should be union. No, no, sorry, this is correct. This is the intersection. Uh, E dash, yeah, or E script, E accent. So, yeah, so if you try to add those two, that would be exactly PA, right? So because this is PA intersect E, which is this, and this is PA intersect E dash or E script, which is this. So if you sum these two, that would be this number PA. So this is actually very powerful. This is the same concept used uh, as in the conditional probability. So you will be able to know the probability of some events happen given a certain event that previously happened. Okay. Okay. So yeah. So PA is actually just PE times PA given E, which is again this part, right? And it's this part. So by using this rule, I think you can solve also the previous problem of a conditional probability, right? And this is widely used in, for example, in machine learning or in other learning method. I think this Bayesian approach is very, very important. Okay, so the extension of this is that you have a multiple events. So if the events B1, B2 until Bk, it constitutes a partition of the sample space S. Ya, jadi dibagi menjadi beberapa event S. Ya. S itu dibagi menjadi P1 dan seterusnya. Maka PA, P lingkaran ini adalah ya jumlahan dari perkalian P, P1 dan A gitu ya. Jadi kalau kita mau cari PA ya kita harus cari P P1 intersect A, P P4 intersect A, P katakanlah P6 intersect A, P P3 intersect A, P P5 intersect A. Misalkan P3 intersect A. Nah, ini Anda bisa tahu dari misalkan P A P3 dikalikan P P P3. Oke, itu yang nanti akan Anda lakukan ya. Jadi beberapa probabilitas ini sangat uh, penting untuk dipahami ya. Dan nanti akan ada beberapa perhitungan ya. Berarti cuma perkalian dan juga penjumlahan aja. Tapi kalau misalkan ya kita salah masukkan variabel ya akhirnya salah semua gitu ya. So we have to be careful in this approach. Okay, so that's a multiple event. So as you can see, this is a PBI times PA given BI. So what is a base rule? So if the events B1, B2 till Bk constitute a partition of the sample space S such that PBI is non-zero for I1 to until K, then for any even A in S such that PA is non-zero, the event uh, BR happening is this one, right? So it's actually the same as the previous slide. PBR times PA given BR, which is the sum of PBI times PA given BI for R 1, 2 until K, right? So like here, you can look, for example, at what is, for example, for example, P before given A. Well, you have to know PA, right? You have to find PA. So this is P before NA over PA. Where PA could be obtained from this. Right? So it is important again to understand this. Okay, so I think this is the last slides, the last two slides. So we have an example that a manufacturing firm employs three analytical plans for the design and development for a particular product. For cost reasons, all three are used at varying times. So plans 1, plans 2, and plans 3. Plan 1, plan 2, and plan 3 are used for 30% and 20% and 50% of the products, respectively. The defect rate is different for the three producers as follows. P D given P1 and D given P2 and D given P3. You have 0.01, you have 0.03, and you have 0.02. Where PD given PJ is the probability of a defective product given plan J. If a random product was observed and found to be defective, which plan was most likely used and thus responsible? So the answer is plan 3. So why is that? So we know that there are three plans, right? Ada tiga, katakanlah metode ya, metode 1, metode 2, dan metode 3 gitu ya. Metode 1 digunakan 30%. Metode 2 digunakan 20% dan metode 3 digunakan 50% dari total metodenya gitu ya. Jadi ketika di total, oh sorry, they should be 0.3, they should be 0.2, they should be 0.5. Ya, sorry, ada typo. And the defect rate adalah ketika kita gunakan metode 1, kemungkinan dia rusak adalah 0,1. Ketika kita menggunakan metode 2, kemungkinan dia rusak adalah 0,03. Dan ketika kita menggunakan metode 3, kemungkinan dia rusak adalah 0,02. Jadi dengan menggunakan teorema Bayes, ya, yang tadi kita membagi ya nilai P1 ya mengalihkan P1 dan juga DP1 menjadi P, ini kan jadinya P1 intersect D gitu ya. Sementara ini semua adalah P, ya ini semua adalah PD. Oke. Jadi dari teorema Bayes kita mendapatkan nilai 0,158 untuk P1. Jadi yang ditanyakan adalah kalau kita menemukan barang yang rusak, berapa kemungkinan atau berapa probabilitas plan satu yang digunakan pada saat barang itu rusak. Kemungkinannya adalah 0,12158. Sementara kemungkinan yang plan digunakan, metode yang digunakan adalah metode 2 adalah 0,316 dan kemungkinan atau probabilitas bahwa metode yang digunakan adalah metode 3 adalah 0,526. Maka 0,526 ini menunjukkan bahwa metode 3 punya probabilitas tertinggi jika kita menemukan produk rusak. Yang bertanggung jawab adalah metode 3 ya. Yang salah adalah metode ketiga. Maka kita dapat menyimpulkan bahwa yang bertanggung jawab atau eh, yang paling mungkin tempat barang itu rusak adalah metode 3 ya, itu dengan kemungkinan 0,526. Okay, so I think that's the base theorem. I think you can try several exercise um, or several examples. There are several in the books or in the internet. You can find so many examples on this Bayesian approach, Bayesian theorem, Bayesian method, whatever they call it. It's related and it's very, very important. So from knowing, ya kita tahu bahwa kalau rusak ya, kalau metode satu maka kemungkinan rusaknya 0,1. Kita balik, kalau rusak, kalau ditemukan rusak yang metodenya metode mana? Metode satu atau metode dua atau metode tiga? Ternyata yang paling memungkinkan adalah metode tiga ya. Jadi P3 given D, D adalah defect ya, defect itu adalah rusak. So the most responsible one is plan 3 or method 3. Okay. Okay, so I think that's from me. But yeah, for the presence of this class, please see my test classroom. There is a short exercise, maybe like one or two problems. You can discuss with your friend, or you can try to solve by yourself. Yeah, so I hope you can follow this topic, and if you have any questions or yeah, comments or maybe suggestions, maybe you still don't understand some parts, you can come to me in the class next week ya. Senin besok saya akan kembali kelas biasa insya Allah. Dan ya dikerjakan ya, short exercise ada di classroom. Silakan Anda bisa buka classroom sekarang. Oke, jadi saya akhiri. Oke, so thank you. Good afternoon everyone. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.